A pleasant good morning to everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Carlos Brown Show, right here on the Black College Sports Network. Yours truly, Carlos Brown. Here's what's trending. Here's what's trending on the Carlos Brown Show. Training camp battles continue, and we'll get into that very shortly. Also, it's Fan Day on the Bluff. You get a chance to come out, meet the Human Jukebox, soccer team, volleyball team, cross country, and of course, the football team. And speaking of women's sports, or shall I speak on about it now? Southern women pick number one in women's soccer in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. That is a prediction. We'll see if it holds true, but the women's soccer program has gained a lot of momentum in the past few years. That's what's trending on the Carlos Brown Show. The guest menu simply is the panel, and we'll introduce them now one by one. Up first is Willa Brown. Good afternoon to you, sir.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
Coach Pettaway, good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Good morning. Made it.
You seem a little fired up there, Ann Wheeler. And, of course, Charles Edmond of the Alcorn State Radio Network, who I was just told by my sources, I have them everywhere. Alcorn has just completed their second scrimmage, so we'll get into that as well. But good morning to everybody and good afternoon. And to everyone in the chat room, it is 2 weeks away from Southern University and the MEAC Swag Challenge. For everybody else, the following Thursday and the following week. So training camps are what it is. A lot of battles going down to it. So with that being said, we'll talk about Southern in a minute. But Charles, Alcorn State, Coach Pettaway, I believe, was out at Alabama A&M practice. So update, please, on those two teams.
Well, as far as Alcorn is concerned, we just finished our second scrimmage. This is our first scrimmage with the officials, the referees being out there. And so the offense won this second scrimmage. They were moving the football. Trey Lawrence, who will probably be our starting quarterback, has been in the system a few years, made some really good throws, some really tough catches, and some tight windows. Our running game was pretty efficient. We got to work on avoiding drops. You know, we've had this throughout camp. Our receivers and tight ends are dropping too many easy passes. We got to work on that. But I thought in this scrimmage, the second scrimmage, the offense won the day. The defense kind of bowled up late, but offensively, I think you would give a thumbs up to the Braves offense. And that's what's going to have to happen if we're going to need to get a good offensive performance this year. Because I think our defense is going to be okay. But last year was a struggle, especially pushing the football down the field. Trey Lawrence was able to do that in the second scrimmage. The defense bowled up late. So I think 2 weeks in, I think you still got some work to do as we get ready for Northwestern State.
Coach Pettaway.
Okay. Yeah, well, I got a chance to go up this week to watch the Bulldogs in action. I think it was Thursday when I went up there. They had a scrimmage this morning, but they did hit on Thursday. They had an outstanding practice. I was really impressed. The guys were flying around, and then Cornelius Brown looks like he's going to be the starter QB, the 6'5" redshirt senior out of Birmingham, Alabama. He played some last year. He was slinging that ball all over the place. They did go again at 9 this morning, but my other obligations had me with the 100 black men. Today was our fishing tournament. So for the little kids, not the adults now. All I can do is put on bait and stuff today and I'm taking a line. But they are scrimmaging again this morning, and I guess it should be over with. It's 11 o'clock because they weren't going to go that long. They're going in the morning times too to beat the heat. And it's a joy, man, to watch how they fly around out there in practice. The practice are I was told the tempo of our practices are what they used to do at Alabama, because it was really fast paced, and Coach Shade was on top of everything. He would go from different segments of the field when they were doing individual stuff. So I really like what they're doing, and they seem like the kids are very enthusiastic and they're getting after it. And man, when they started hitting, man, woo, them pads were popping. So
Mm.
I like the aggressiveness that I'm seeing on the offense. They threw several balls downfield, so they are using the tight end, which I'm very happy to see that. So things are looking up, and I expect us to have a good turnout for our first home game. I expect a lot of people to go down to Arkansas. You know, our first game is in Fayetteville at the University of Arkansas. And then, of course, we got to go up to Nashville, Kansas State. And our fans are excited and looking forward to that. And our fan day, Carlos, is next. It's on the 18th, where you get a chance to meet all the teams. The same teams you just named, all those teams, plus the basketball teams, are participating in fan day next weekend.
Very good. It's you could tell the excitement's in the air, but now I'll go to the hardliner who will probably bring us down a little bit. Typical training camp, right, Wheeler?
Yeah, it is, and it's that time of the year. You know, everybody feels good about where they are and what they could possibly become, that sort of thing, and that's a great thing. You want those spirits to be high right now,
Yep.
and you want something to grasp a hold to kind of give the masses the idea that hey, we're gonna be okay this year. And but as we've always stated, we'll see come next week or the week after, what have you. We'll see exactly where we are. And, I caution that, growing pains are going to be in effect.
Yep.
And, we don't expect to come out of the gate spitting out on all cylinders, that sort of thing. We're looking for improvement every step of the way. But it's good. The kids are flying around and all that sort of thing. And for the new coaches, them being able to get in their systems and the kids responding, to the coaches, to the coaching staff, that sort of thing. And so, it's a feel good moment, Carlos, and it's what's sorely needed right now.
Yep.
Very good, Wheeler. Well, I try to be even keel. Um, they had a scrimmage at Southern University last week, but I, I I had my eyes there. That means not physically there, but I had eyes there. If you get my
Yeah.
drift.
Yep.
And so you're looking at a quarterback battle. Everyone always wants to talk about the quarterback situation. Um, and I try to be objective. I'm just going to admit, but you guys know in the panel who I like.
Mhm.
But what I like doesn't mean a darn thing because the coaches are going to make the decision. So with that being said, the quarterback play is still an intense battle. Jalen Woods and McCoy. And so from those eyes, those other eyes, the third eye that tells me that Jalen Woods had a nice scrimmage. We'll put it that way. We don't want to get too high and we don't want to get too low. We want to be balanced. He worked with the first team, worked with the second team. McCoy did better with the first team than the second team. So slight edge, I would say. Still Jalen Woods. Still Jalen Woods. And that third eye told me he was balling. He had a couple of drops by the receivers. So I think one of you on the panel mentioned about some drops, Charles. I think that happens throughout camp, but it better not happen too much more going forward.
Oh yeah.
Going through the forward.
Hey, Carlos, do you think that you and the coaching staff, you think you all will ever see eye to eye on the same QB?
Yeah, well, yeah. Let me say this. No matter what's the decision, I have to take my feelings out. If it's McCoy that gets the start, I support that. If it's Woods, I support that as well. But
Well, Carlos,
Hmm?
for me, Woods would have to lose that battle.
Well, yeah, that's what they said.
The other boy wouldn't have to win it.
Yeah,
Woods would have to lose it.
lose. Yeah,
And that's based off of, the work that he put in last year, the work that he's put in all spring, that sort of thing, his leadership ability. He brings a lot of intangibles to the table. and he has clearly earned the opportunity to, come out of the blocks with this thing and, see where he is. But competition is good.
Very
Don't
good.
get me wrong.
Right,
And
right.
it's good that the other young man is pushing him hard, and that Woods is going to earn everything that he gets.
Right. Hey,
But for me, he would have to lose that battle, not the other kid win.
right. And
Well
so now,
said.
Carlos, didn't Wood start? I'm sorry. Didn't you Wood start the Bayou Classic?
Yes, and
Didn't he
started
start
also.
the SWAC championship game, right?
No, he was in concussion protocol.
Oh, concussion. Yeah.
Yeah.
So an injury kept him from being on the field, right?
Yeah.
He should be the number one QB going in the camp.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
he should be the number one QB going in the camp. And I'm like Wheeler.
Uh-huh.
Woods would have to lose to McCoy. He just got to come out and play lights out. Do the competition thing, make him better. Iron sharp as iron. That's all that is.
Correct, because that's what Coach Graves and the staff talked about, competition. We had Mark Frederick on last week,
Mm-hmm.
and he basically, from what interpretation I got, he's comfortable with either one can lead the team. But Jalen Wood, so beautifully said, Will. So beautifully said. It's Wood's job to lose, and he got off to a good start. Now they have a scrimmage tonight, 7 p.m. open to the public, and I'll just say this: I don't go expecting them showing a whole lot. I think it's going to be basic, generic. Why would you show anything coming up to the next 2 weeks? You never know. It's be spies everywhere. You just don't know. And so, but it'll be the ending of a beautiful day. With fan day, and be there. I got the entourage ready. Because the entourage is good for me because I talk everybody, and I talk them to death. They want to watch a scrimmage. They don't want to hear me talking to them. You get it?
Yeah.
So,
and then Charles still got time to get down there for the scrimmage tonight now.
Who's that?
Charles still you talking about slides and stuff. I said Charles still got a chance. You still got time to get down there now.
Hey,
well,
I got some eyes down there too now.
Charles, I already had them. They were looking for you that last Saturday night. They say you think he's up there at the top of Mumford Stadium.
Just when you think I'm not around, I am around. But when you think I am around, I'm not around.
Well, I got to look out for you. I got people positioned everywhere.
But here's an interesting point about the quarterback position. All right, here we are for Southern. They're getting ready to start here very shortly. We got a Thursday night game. If coaches were being brutally honest, using your phrase, Carlos, do you think they know who the starting quarterback? I mean, just to be fully transparent, at this point, do you think they know who the starting quarterback is at this point with just a handful of weeks left? School's getting ready to start.
I think they do.
Yes,
I'm
gonna say yes.
I think they do, but you gotta put that smoke screen out there, Charles. And you gotta have everybody guessing, that sort of thing, and and they're gonna preach that almost up to the last week.
Yeah,
it's really tight. It's close competition. We could flip a coin and go either way, that sort of thing, and they'll give you all the cliches.
Yeah,
and but I think at the end of the day, they know what side of the bread the butter gonna be on.
Yeah,
and that's why I came out and said it's competitive. I have my opinions about it, and I said again, I have to be careful because I don't want it to shine too much. But if you've been watching for the last month or two, you know who I want to win because and by the way, I got a chance to meet him in person for the first time a couple of Saturdays ago. Nice young man. With that being said, the offensive line is coming along nicely now. One of the transfers that was running with the number ones from Prairie View transferred in. he didn't participate in the last scrimmage, but lo and behold, a freshman got a lot of snaps from Zachary High School in Zachary, Louisiana. Very outstanding program. And according to that third eye, so when I say the third eye, you know what I'm referencing. According to the third eye, he held his own pretty good. So, last week Coach Frederick talked about that one slot left, that left tackle, right tackle, left tackle, that they're looking. 2, competition is still very good. You want to battle to the end. I'm more interested in, and you just mentioned about, do you think the coaches know who is, they know who's number one, but I think the biggest battle is going to be from who's going to be the number 2s, who's going to be in the backup positions that, injury away, that they can, they'll have to step it up. So, and then the special teams, kickoff returns, punting, all of that, you got to hunker that down.
Well, that was kind of that was one big hiccup in our scrimmage today. We missed a PAT. We missed 3 field goals of medium range in the scrimmage today, and so that special teams has been an issue for us in decision making on punts and kickoffs. And then if you can't make a PAT, if you can't make a 35-yard field goal, that's something that that's definitely something that we're gonna have to clean up.
Yeah. Well, it's still early. So everybody's got an opportunity to correct all that stuff. That's what the preseason is about. That's what fall camp is about.
Yeah, Coach Pettaway, but all kickers do is kick.
Come on, man.
Come on.
Well, I agree with you, because
anywhere else, Coach Pettaway, I would go by what you're saying.
Yeah.
But the kicking game, that's all they do all day long.
Yeah.
I was standing next
when it's your time to show up, you got to show up.
Because go ahead, Charles. I'm sorry.
I was standing next to the kickers today. We were just having a general conversation. We got 3 kickers. They were just like, "Hey, when it's my time, I'll be ready to go." But then get out there.
To the side. Miss them off to the side. Miss them when you're down there by yourself, all that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But when the lights are on and it's team play, that sort of thing, you got to go through the uprights, baby. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Carlos, are they nervous? Is Jag Nation worried about the kicking game?
No, I don't believe so. You got Zimmerman, a freshman, who, quite honestly, a lot of people were shocked that they were able to get that type of kicker. But but he's a freshman, so I'm sure he'll have some growing pains. But very efficient in the kicking game. And then you have the returner, punter from Alcorn that transferred in. Charles, I know you know.
Carlos had a
tremendous
jab in there.
Strength in his leg. You remember he kicked a 53-yarder?
Yeah.
And then he kicked one to beat Texas Southern at the last second. So improvement across the board and with special teams. You always got to be important. It's always important.
I want to bring up a point to the panel too, because I think this is kind of the scrimmage today in which you got the officials out there. Cedric Thomas brought up an interesting point. If you watch the NFL camps, they got officials out there every day in these NFL camps. Cedric Thomas brought up an interesting point, and it just may be not possible, may be unrealistic, but do you think it would be possible where we can have some college teams or maybe SWAC teams could have some officials out at their camp every day on a rotating basis, just, because you're going 7-on-7, you're going 11-on-11, and you're just trying to clarify some stuff, the holding and all that. I mean, is it unrealistic to have at our level officials at practice every day like you do in the NFL? Maybe it's not even worth talking about, but Cedric Thomas brought it up just as something.
I don't think it's unrealistic, Charles. I would think, if you can get them out there for about an hour or so, they don't have to be out there the whole time, but if you can get them out there for an hour or so, I mean, it's something to fundraise for, that sort of thing.
Right. That's right.
A lot of times, these guys come out free of charge as part of their service training, that sort of thing, trying to get ready for the season, get the cobwebs off from a long off season, that sort of thing. But I think from an administrative point of view, it's definitely worth trying to get them out there at least maybe 3 or 4 times out of the week.
Yeah,
if nothing else.
somebody brought up the point they do have other jobs, and officials even in the NFL have jobs during the week. So that's just probably a moot point, but it was an interesting thing to bring up that he brought. First time I've heard someone bring it up at this level, and Coach Thomas said, "Hey, I think that would be great for our team or any team college level to have officials out there just to make sure you're having a clean operation."
And they talked to us AD about it.
Right. And see, you know what? Now in basketball, we tried to get them out at least once a week. I mean, on the weekend, either Saturday or Sunday, you get them officials in there so the kids will get used to how the games are going to be officiated, that kind of thing. So now I don't know if that's feasible for football, like during the week. See, it wouldn't be good for us during the week in basketball because officials have full-time jobs. But
Right.
when we schedule stuff on the weekend, most of the time we got officials to come out. And then Willie, you were right. Sometimes they would donate, and sometimes we give them a little something along with the food and drinks and stuff like that. We will break them off a little something, and you keep those guys coming back.
If you paying Charles, they'll find a way to get out there.
Well, I'm looking in the chat room. Some people said no, you don't need the officials out there. I think they're taking a shot at officiating.
Oh,
but most scrimmages, because I actually got a picture from last week's practice, and it probably was a scrimmage, and you could see the ref in the picture. So Southern has been having the officials in there, and they'll be there tonight. So it should be interesting. The running back room, very intriguing. We kind of talked about the quarterback room, also the O-line, but the running back room is very interesting. Here's a good problem to have. You got Franklin, who, by the way, just ran over people last week, 6'2", 225. Wow. Then you got Holly transferring in from LSU. He is as advertised. I'm going to tell you, you give him an inch, he could take it all the way. And then you have others in the room. So people have been asking me, who's going to get the start? I'm not worried about who gets the start. I think they're all going to play. Sometimes the player that gets the start, that's fine. But if you know you're going to play, so you've got to pick out of 3 or 4 running backs that you can utilize. I think they say Nick Saban used to say running back by committee.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what you're going to see. You got power, and I mean power, 6'2", 225. Then you got lightning. Mm-hmm. Then you got lightning again, a change of pace running backs.
Mm-hmm.
Again, it goes back to if the offensive line continues to improve with 4 starters back, and then, bringing in the backups, get them some playing time, I think it puts less pressure on the quarterback. They have a great running game. What am I saying? I love balance. And I love a quarterback that can make the throws. Now, if he has to vacate the area, he's athletic enough, Willer, to get the legs moving.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just me. I like the quarterback that can stand in the pocket, has good protection, and he can go through his reads and be able to make that tough pass, the easy pass.
If
That's
that
just
line
my
is
opinion.
working, Carlos, you can put me back there. We're going to get it done. It don't matter. And it don't matter who the running back is. If they're opening up those holes and guys are able to just walk up in there and get 3, 4, 5 a pop, shoot, it don't matter. So that's where it all is, up front.
Yeah.
But now, let me ask you something. Carlos, was the heat still a factor in Baton Rouge? Because I'm going to be honest, this week in Huntsville, the heat leveled off. Man, we was in the we had it in the nights. It was down to 60s and 70 degrees, and it never got in the 90s until yesterday.
Wow.
Did the heat drop down there?
Can you see me? I'm having a technical.
No, it's still messed. Oh, I'm sorry. What you said now?
No, I'm having technical issues.
Yeah, you are. You are.
Let me log out and log back in. I apologize.
No. You all right? When we go on the break, you'll do it when you do the break, right?
Yeah. Okay. Well, no, the heat is still impactful in Baton Rouge.
Okay.
Down here too.
Heat index is still 103 to 107 every day. Temperature's been like 90 to 95. And actually, that's a little bit better because a couple of weeks ago, it was much brutal.
Yeah, because Coach Shays was looking for it to be hotter because he's saying it's got to get hotter in practice because they got to play Arkansas in the heat.
Come on, Coach Pettaway. Now you know in Huntsville. Come on now, Coach Pettaway. You know in Huntsville it's hardly ever hot.
Yeah,
you know, it's always cold in Huntsville. When I go up there that second week, if it's cold, then I'm not coming back. So I'm just gonna throw that out there. Second week in September, I'm expecting it to be hot. If it's 74, if it's 55 degrees at night, I'm done with Huntsville. I'm telling you that right now. But no, I mean seriously, here, I mean we practice in the morning starting at 7:15. And it's been in the upper 70s, heat index close to 90. And by the time we're done around 10 o'clock or so, it's starting to pick up heat index already in the low 90s at that time. Right. And so it's, and Southern goes at night, as Carlos mentioned. We go in the morning. And, for our schedule, I mean, we would like to have that heat test. But our first 4 games are at night. We play Northwestern at 6. We got our second game of the year is going to be at night, and the Alabama A&M, and then the game in Memphis is going to be at 5, I believe, and Mississippi State's going to be at 5. So we're going to get those early. We're not going to play an early game until our first home game at 3 o'clock, and that's not till October. And by that time, it'll cool off. We think by that time.
Yeah, well, he played at 3:15 Arkansas, so he said. I think what they're going to eventually end up doing, though, is practicing in the evening. Right now, they're going at 9 o'clock in the morning, and they finish about 11:30. So, and it's not that awfully hot at that point. But they gotta practice in the humidity and heat if they're going down to Fayetteville.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point, you're pretty much conditioned to the heat at this point. Just a couple of weeks in. I mean, if you're not, then you're already behind the 8 ball on that. I'm just wondering how school's getting ready to start, and you're kind of getting into the meat of your practices. You're kind of get players registered, and school's getting ready to start. How does that change things up as the pace kind of slows down a little bit with classes starting?
Yeah. Well, they're used to it.
I mean, we can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Yep.
I mean, I don't think it changes a whole heck of a lot. I mean, everybody will be excited about those first couple of days of classes, that sort of thing. But, as you get closer to football season actually getting ready to get started, then that anxiety level really ratchets up a whole nother notch.
Yeah.
And guys, too, Coach Graves, Southern's games, the first part of the season is at nighttime. Right. So they have been going also at night to help with that, to kind of simulate what they're going to face. And believe it or not, some members of the Jaguar Nation I talked to, they're tough. They're tough. They want to see more evening games, because here was what one guy said. Look, man, we spent a lot of money tailgating and bringing in the RVs. They just didn't like the 4 o'clock games, in the past. Then they have something like high school day. That's an early start, But I told them the best answer I could give them, a lot of it is predicated on television.
Yep.
If you're picked to play an early game. Now, you remember last year. Let's go back to last year. excuse me. You remember Southern and Jackson State was scheduled what, about 1 o'clock, 1:30?
Yeah.
No, rumor said we had something to do with that, but no, I think everybody involved said, look, let's move this game back to a more traditional time. And that was 6 p.m. Because let's face it, I can only speak about the weather here, but Coach Pettaway, August is hot, September is hot,
Yep.
and in Baton Rouge, it's hot until the end of October. I've seen 85 degrees in November and December.
Wow.
I remember in Christmas running out in shorts. So that's just something, like Willis said, that is something you just have to face. And you just have to make adjustments. School starts next week? So it won't, some student athletes have schedules that they try to work out. You remember years past, Southern used to go early in the morning because of the different class schedules.
Yeah.
So it'll move into the afternoon. So they started doing it at night for two reasons. To for the student athlete's safety, one, and then to simulate the games they're going to play in the early part of the season. It makes sense to me.
It does. Yep, the safety of the athletes, that should be the number one priority. Yep,
definitely, no doubt.
The athletes. Yep.
No doubt.
Yeah,
well, I remember when I was at school at Grambling, we played a game early in the season, like at 2:00, and we had a number of people pass out. And I think Grambling came up with a policy where they were not going to play any more day games in September because of the heat. I don't know. I mean, I know television kind of dictates some things, but I'm just wondering how many of our schools kind of have adopted to where when they're playing games if we look at the SWAC schedule now, or, we look at games at home. I mean, our first home game's not until October. It's a 3:00 game. Normally we would play at 2:00, but it's at 3:00 high school day. But I'm just wondering how many of our schools are playing day games at home in September because of that. I mean, I think, when it comes to SWAC fans in cold weather, SWAC fans in heat, SWAC fans in rain, SWAC fans in snow, it's not a good mix. Folks, they're just not going to go when it's too hot, when it's too cold, when it's raining. We know that. We don't even have to go into detail on that. So I'm just wondering, are our schools cognizant of that when they have these home games that early in the season?
I think they are, Charles. That's something we've always done wherever I've been. We've always kind of looked at the different dynamics, as it pertains to the health and welfare of our kids, number one, of our fans, number two. And, you make the adjustments accordingly. You got lights in your stadium. It's hot in September and October. Why not play during the evening in September and October? Switch to the afternoon games come the tail end of October into November. And let's just kind of keep it moving from there.
Yeah, see, here in Huntsville, we 6:00 until we do homecoming. Homecoming's, of course, at 2:00, and that's in October, the 11th of October. So yeah, everything at home so far in the early part of the season, it's at 6:00. They avoid that heat, and then the only game that in October you're going to go to, the Magic City Classic going to always be an afternoon affair.
Yeah, and then too, you have to look at this. You remember I said, in particular with Southern University, but I'm sure you'll find the same thing throughout a conference. I'm 60 years old, right? Our fan base is older now, so you got to keep them in mind as well. Look, the student athletes, they're fine. That's why they went to training camp. They played in the heat. It's more of us older folks.
Yep.
Now student involvement. Well, again, you got to have that layer of protection for everybody. But hell, some of the old Southern fans, they would like they remember the 7:00 game, 7:30. But those days are gone.
I just would like to take a poll to see how many of our middle-aged to younger fans are they particularly interested in a 2:00 kickoff in September? I mean, we already just like you mentioned, and you're correct. Now, I love the heat personally. I love it. I hate winters. I love the heat, but that's just me. But for middle-aged younger folks, do they enjoy sitting in the stands when it's 90 degrees at kickoff? I'll just want to take a poll and see what they think.
Well, Charles, some of your alums will complain about not getting home at a decent hour. If they're coming in from out of town, let's say a 3-hour drive or something like that. So they pretty much like that afternoon game that's over with by 6, and hopefully they can be home by 9 or so, that sort of thing. So, I can tell you, I've heard it from all sides, in terms of why the game should be at this time, be at that time, that sort of thing. So, folk throw a lot of things out there for you to digest. And, but like you say, you just got to have your priorities in order. First off is the safety and welfare of the kids, and then the trickle down from there. A lot of times your opposing team, if they got concerns in terms of the bus drivers, they're coming from a long way, that sort of thing, then, if you're having an evening game, a lot of times they're not able to get right back on the road after a game's over with in order to get home. So you may cost them an extra night at the hotel or something like that, or they got to work something out with the bus company in terms of having a driver meet them halfway or what have you, so that they can get home, all that sort of thing. So like I said, it's a whole lot of things that go through your mind from an administrative point of view. You try to please everybody, and that's why you got to have things prioritized in terms of who you want to please first.
Hey, but Willa, here's the other thing too now. For the young people, for the students that are currently in school, and some of the younger grads, they want the earlier game so that they can get to them clubs. Now, come on, let's call it like it is now.
That too, Coach Pettaway. You ain't lying about that.
Hey, I need them priority first. I need them in that stand. You're young. You can party till 3 or 4 in the morning, especially after a win. So, we need the younger generation, the student body, everybody. And then we'll go to timeout. Quick story. My best friend told me when he was at Southern University, they locked the dorms. They said you got to get out. You gotta go to the football games. Yeah. You go
in the dorms. In the dorms, yeah.
They can get out. Everybody out. See you at Mumford Stadium.
But I promise you, hey Charles, I promise you, I got in with the dorm counselors at A&M for basketball games. They made them students get out them dorms and come to the game.
I have heard that story back in the day. I think even here it was like that. Could you get away with that now?
No, them kids look at you like you crazy.
But they be trying to get somebody fired, Charles.
I'm not gonna give up on the youngsters. I got faith in them. Come on out. Out. I know, and that's another thing. They've got so many things they could do. I observe people in the stands. I'm up high in the press box, and they're on their phones. They're doing those type of things. But I'm watching the football game.
Yeah,
and so that's why we need everybody to give back, everybody to come back, and cheer on your respective teams. That's the bottom line. We're well overdue for a timeout.
All right.
So with that being said, we'll take a timeout. When we come back, it'll be more of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. We will return.
Nope.
Guess we won't.
Okay.
Guess we won't.
All right.
Well, Carlos,
Nope. Nope.
Come on, him?
Ooh, I like him.
Quick, the quicker picker-upper. Bounty picks up messes quicker, and each sheet is 2 times more absorbent, so you can use less.
He's an 8.
He's a 9.
Bounty, the quicker picker-upper.
This is Brian Fulford. AD Drew and I are co-hosts of the BCSN Sports Wrap. We talk about all things related to HBCU athletics. From the games, teams, coaches, and fan interest stories, we cover it all. You can find our shows on Facebook at BCSN Sports Wrap, YouTube at MyJBN Online, and everywhere you listen to podcasts like Anchor, Spotify, Google, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find the show on the Jericho Broadcast Network's app. Make sure to download. We look forward to you joining the conversation and being a part of the show.
This is the Dean of the College of HBCU Sports, Kenyatta Cavill of Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Come mix it up in the lab where the course lecture is in session every Tuesday from 6 o'clock p.m. Central Standard Time on Facebook Live, YouTube Spreaker, or the BCSN app, as we discuss all things about the HBCU sports culture, including exploring the week that was in the sporting HBCU diaspora, as well as the upcoming week of HBCU sports. With me, the Dean, the College of HBCU Sports, on Dr. Cavill's Inside the HBCU Sports Lab with Mike Washington and Charles Bishop. Course lecture dismissed.
Football fans, HBCU football is back in the ATL with the Cricket MEAC SWAC Challenge Kickoff. Representing the MEAC, North Carolina Central, and representing the SWAC, Southern Eagles, Jaguars, the Marching Sound Machine, the Human Jukebox. The kickoff trophy is up for grabs, and bragging rights are on the line. The rivalry is real. Bring the family and join us pre-game for the fun-filled Coca-Cola fan experience, including band jamborees, food, activations, and fellowship. For tickets and information, visit MEAC.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Coles Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. Yours truly, Coles Brown, with the panel, Coach Vann Pettaway, Charles Edmond, and Wheeler Brown. I was kind of looking over when we were talking about the quarterback room. I talked about Trey Holly, 5'7", 192 pounds. He is as advertised. Mike Franklin, transferred from Jacksonville State. Also, Princeton Cahey, Louisiana native. He transferred from Louisiana Tech. He has turned some heads in camp. And also returning sophomore Barry Remo and redshirt freshman Jason Gabrielle. Wheeler, you're the football coach. We'll put your football cap on.
Mm-hmm.
You got to make us. You got to have a starter, but is it more important to name a starter, or is it more important to say or come out and say it's going to be all of the running backs are going to play because they all bring something to the table?
Well, I think you're going to name a starter. I mean, that part goes without saying. As you get closer to the season, getting ready to start, then you can pretty much tell who's going to be primarily with the ones or the twos, that sort of thing. And, I just always caution against going more than too deep at that position. Especially if you got some horses back there, you want to give them guys an opportunity to lather up, so to speak. You want them to get into the game and get a good sweat going, that sort of thing. And a lot of times, if you wind up playing 3 and 4 people back there, nobody really gets into a rhythm, and you kind of lose some things there. And at the quarterback position, at the running back position, positions like that, it's important for them guys to get back there, get settled in, get those reps in.
Mm-hmm.
Get those reps come game time, that sort of thing. And if you got a horse, you ride him. I don't need in trying to save anybody or anything like that. You got 100-yard plus a game running back, give him the damn ball. Let him go. Let him go. You got a second tier guy that's a change of pace back. You sprinkle him in there, here and there. I just caution against going past that too deep at the running back position because somebody's gonna get cold, even in the heat, over there on that sideline if you're trying to rotate 3 and 4 guys in at that particular position.
And I looked in the chat room during the break, and a Jaguar Nation member was kind of concerned that you only have 2 quarterbacks. Well, you had 3 in camp, 1 left. A freshman who he is the future. He's a dual threat quarterback. You in a normal situation you would like to redshirt that guy, but now with 3, and I guess his concern was, what happens, if injuries happens or what have you, then now someone's out and then you still up to 2, so you have 3. So I guess they're kind of concerned about that situation. And it just made me think, because you remember I said previously with McCoy and his athleticism, I would expect to see a package at some point where he's in the game at some point. But then I have to sit back and think, well, injuries can happen anytime. It's kind of like if you're driving, oh boy, in Baton Rouge, you're driving, you're always on the defensive, thinking about, having an accident. You eventually will have it. So, but it's a valid point. I still think that they will be able to use those backs at some point. Now, to your point, Wheeler, if that running back is hot, he's averaging 5-6 yards a pop.
You got to ride him. You got to ride him.
Yeah,
I mean, there's no doubt about that. You got to ride him.
You leave him in. You leave him in. So,
but you want that guy. You want your main guys to be able to, like I said, get in the game, get involved in the game. Develop that rhythm, that sort of thing. And if you snatching them every other series and this, that, and the other, no rhyme or reason to, what it is that you're doing, then, mentally, from a football point of view, you kind of throwing that psyche off a little bit. You think you're fooling the other team, but you're really not. If you got a couple guys that are ready to run, go on out there, stick it in the belly and let them go.
All right, thank you. They say I'm loud and clear. I don't know. Maybe somebody has something to do.
Well, Carlos, as far as a running game is concerned, I mean, if you look at the teams around the conference, you look at Southern going with a young quarterback. You look at Alcorn going with a quarterback that's been in the system, a couple of coaches, a couple of coordinators trying to get him comfortable. A running game is a quarterback's best friend. And what you've got to be able to do, especially early in the season, is be able to run the football. When I think of Southern University back in the 90s, the Eric Randalls of the world, spraying it all over the yard. Southern still had a pretty good running game, but they had a pretty good quarterback game as well. But when I think of Southern last year, the ground and pound, they would just wear you out. And so because they went with different quarterbacks. And so I think if you can run the football early, especially, for Southern, North Carolina Central, then Valley, if you can run the football and make your quarterback comfortable, I think it makes everything else so much easier.
Now, I don't want to be controversial, but I think I'll put it this way: on paper and potentially, this running back room is better. I'm just putting it out there, just my opinion. It's better. Quarterback room is better. Competition. I don't think you will see up and down, moving this quarterback in, moving that quarterback in. Now, again, injuries, that's part of the game, but I'll go on the record and say the room is better.
Yeah, so Carlos, that means that you are predicting another championship then, right?
I always predict the championship. Yeah, I mean, that's my expectations. The reality is, it's high expectations. I put Jackson State in the same boat. Always high expectations, and they have been doing it. A little bulletin board material going on, about Southern and Jackson State, but it's on paper. It's a long season. Wheeler and Coach Pettaway and Charles, you gotta win the week, and you gotta improve every time you set out on that field. Could it be some upsets? Could it be? Now, Wheeler, you appreciate this. Now, talking the game. Now, let's say if all of you are coaches. Well, Coach Pettaway and Wheeler, you've coached. Charles, we haven't. I'm just going to promise two things. I always say that. We're going to show up and we're going to play hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's kind of how I keep it. We've had coaches in the past that have gone undefeated.
Oh, heck no.
See how that worked out.
Yeah. You don't do that, man. It's just like you see. I'm going to tell you, we're going to be competitive and we're going to play hard. We're coming after you. We're not going to sit back. That I preach that every year going into the season.
Now,
and those are my expectations for my team too. Now, I don't. You see, some people want you to. Some coaches want you to play hard. I demand that you play hard. And there's a difference now. There's a difference. I'm not. You're not gonna do anything half. You're not gonna go anything halfway, half tilt. You got to go all out for me. That's the only way I knew how to do it, man.
Yeah, but you know, Carlos, as you get closer to game time, the reps are going to be divided amongst those kids that are actually going to see prime time, and that's just how it is. So right now they're kind of approaching that point slowly but surely, to the point where your ones and twos, you kind of got in your mind who they're going to be. They're starting to get the majority of the work in practice, that sort of thing. They're going to get majority of the reps come game time. And, everybody else's job is to be ready when their number's called. Because you never know. Everybody's one injury away. You never know, when it's going to be called. You just ready, chomping at the bit for when your opportunity comes. But it's approaching that time where, we need to settle in on some things here now. I need to know who my starting five is across the front. I need to know my ones and twos at the quarterback position, at the running back position, at all the other positions, necessary in order to put a competitive team out there on the field. And, then we keep it moving from there. But like I said, we're approaching what they call it, nut cutting time or whatever.
Yeah.
We're approaching that time very rapidly.
And to his point, Charles, Alcorn's had their second scrimmage. I'm sure Alabama, everybody's at that point now. With Southern tonight, I think it will help to determine that process. And then in 2 weeks, it's game week, football game there Saturday, so they're going to start honing in on game week pretty shortly. It'll be interesting.
Well, Carlos, we're just talking about expectations. Of course, when here in the purple and gold, we expect to get back up there where we were in the Celebration Bowl and all that other stuff. But for Southern University, they've been able to get to the door, but they haven't been able to kick it in. They've been to 2 SWAC championship games, haven't been able to get to Atlanta. And so the expectation is to get to Atlanta, Carlos. And I know me and you were on the Celebration Bowl field the last time we were there, and you said, man, I wish Southern was here. You would be on that field in Atlanta at the Mercedes-Benz Dome with the Jaguar Nation and all that. The expectation for Southern is to get to Atlanta. They've tasted the SWAC championship game a couple of times, but haven't been able to get past that. So I think the expectation for Southern University is to win the division and get to Atlanta. That's it. Kind of like the New York Knicks. The expectation is to get to the NBA Finals. That's it. That's what Mike Brown's job is this year. Get to the finals, not get to the Eastern Conference Finals. Get to the finals. Southern University's got to get to Atlanta, period. Other than that, I think, Jaguar Nation's we know fan bases are impatient, but I think Southern fans are ready to make that trip to the ATL.
I would agree with that. Yes. every year the expectations are there. But the other teams in the conference, Alabama and them, looks to improve and get to that point. And by the way, we had a discussion off air this week in a text message. I like what Alabama A&M is doing from the director of athletics perspective, the facilities. You can't say watch them, but watch them. I'm watching them.
Yep.
And their budget is up there. And Willa always likes to say, if you got a big budget, you should be near the top.
The expectations. That's
right.
part of the expectations, Carlos. But with me, it's about being in the hunt. I mean, you gonna crack that nut every now and then and get across the top, that sort of thing. But I want you to be in the conversation year in and year out. And as long as we continue to talk about Southern, being in the conversation and being right up there, the expectations, the hope is that you get over the top. There's no doubt about that. But the expectation is that you be in the hunt year in and year out. I gotta be in the conversation. You gotta be talking about me at the end of the day.
Well, and you saw Dr. Cavill's comment, Alcorn State, but particularly Prairie View. Their expectations there. I told the story. I was
with
on
a new
side,
coach.
on side. Well, I understand that, but he has swag hours. I was on side of him, checking into the downtown Sheraton, Birmingham, and I recognize him. He don't know me, but I recognize him. He is as advertised. He is confident. He was talking in the lobby.
It's okay to be confident, Carlos. It's okay to be confident, but you got to be measured in what you're saying and what you bring to the table. I mean, if you feel better with that bullseye on your back, then I mean that's totally up to you. Me, I'm gonna be measured about that thing. As Charles, likes to say, we're gonna play hard. We're gonna put it all out there for 60 minutes every Saturday or what have you. I'm gonna use all the cliches, that sort of thing. But I'm gonna refrain from we're gonna kick y'all butt week in and week out, and this is my conference and so forth and so on. And I don't want that. I don't want that target on my back. I don't want it on my institution's back like that. I don't want it on my coach's back. More importantly, I don't want it on my kids' back like that. And that's just me.
Well, let me speak to Alcorn because Dr. Cavill asked a question. I think it's a good one. We're only going to go as far as our quarterback position takes us. Last year, we had a situation with Xavier Vaughn, who was one of the best running quarterbacks in the conference, but there were times in which we couldn't push the ball down the field. We had a game in which we had 80 yards passing. We got to get more than that from Trey Lawrence. We got to get more than that from Jalen Tolbert, who's our number 2 quarterback, I believe, going into the season, the Howard transfer. We got to get more out of that position. We're known for running the football. You guys know that. I think we'll be fine there. Our offensive line will be fine. I think defensively we'll get after it. We had some issues kicking PATs and field goals today in the scrimmage. We got to get better with that. But I think the expectation for Cedric Thomas in the second year, we got to be a little bit better. As, people still not happy with the way the Jackson State game ended. People still steaming about that. I know. I'm sorry.
Charles, I need to interject there.
They're gonna go
you guys
mad.
historically have done more with less. And I think that expectation comes from that. And the fact that you all have had turnover in the coaching position, that sort of thing, I think it leads to unrealistic expectations on behalf of Alcorn State. That's just me talking. You want to be in the hunt naturally, that sort of thing, but you're in a new era now. Can the new coach get the most out of the limited resource situation that McNair did? That's the question that there's no answer for right now. And until an answer becomes available for that particular question, I don't think it's realistic that anybody is expecting you guys to just walk right in and jump into the championship game. I
Right.
just don't, that's just me. The
Well,
numbers don't add up from a budgetary point of view. When you look at it overall, when you look at the total picture, budget wise and all that sort of thing, like I said, can the guy that's there now, can he squeeze that lemon?
yeah.
And that right now is undecided.
Right.
And I
And
guess
that,
we'll see shortly.
yeah, that is the big key. I mean, right now with the way the SWAC is changing, you got new coaches, the expectations. We've been there. We've been riding that thing for a long 3 Celebration Bowl appearances and all that, but it definitely has changed, Wheeler. You're absolutely correct on that. And we open up with 4 straight on the road. It's not going to be easy there. Take Mississippi State out of the formula, but you got Northwestern State was winless last year. Then you got Alabama A&M in the Cruise Classic. Then you got to play UAPB in Memphis. This is the first couple of games is going to really say a lot about where Alcorn is going. And so I think if we can start off fast, I think we'll kind of be there. But as far as Prairie View is concerned, there's a poker saying, I'm all in. And I think based on what has happened at Prairie View, and I think it's been talked about in the comments, Prairie View's making significant investment in football, and Tremaine Jackson and that program, they're all in. I think they've always been in, but I think based on what's happened, cutting 2 sports, I think it tells you that as far as football is concerned at Prairie View, I think they're truly all in. And it's tough that you got to make these tough decisions. I'm not in a position to judge anybody's household finances, university finances, or business finances, but that's got to be a tough decision. And I know we were texting during the week, Wheeler, when you were at Jackson State, you had to make that tough decision.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to know what those conversations are like. I don't think AD Goff was woke up a month ago and said he was going to do this. I think that there was probably back and forth running up the flagpole and all. How are those decisions made, and just the gut-wrenching decision, the processes with that?
I think, you got to look at things in its totality. I would not have put out there that I'm going to cut tennis to move money to football, even though that may wind up what transpires in the end. I'm not going to put that part out there for public consumption. I think you're a Title IX issue just waiting to happen. But if the university is undergoing budget cuts overall, athletics is going to have to take its fair share of a hit from that point of view. And in my case, it was part of that. We looked at the fact that, coach was retiring, that sort of thing. And but at the long run being, you're still going to honor scholarships for kids that want to stay.
Right.
So how much money are you actually saving at the end of the day?
But Wheeler, do you really count scholarship?
You got to count them. You got to count them, Coach.
No, this is what I'm saying, because that's just actually paper. But your expenses and everything else, that's real money. See that? Okay, when I was there, in 1992, when they named me interim athletic director, the first thing that they did, they cut our women and men's swimming program. Now, let me give you a little history. They won national championships in women's swimming. But our problem was we were the only HBCU in the South that had a swimming team.
Mm-hmm.
So that meant that we had to always go to the PWIs.
Mm-hmm.
We had to go up to Howard and places like that. It was real expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And Wheeler, we did the exact same thing. And on top of that, the swimming coach, Wyckoff, that was my best friend. So
But that made sense, Coach Pettaway. That made sense. If I'm sponsoring a sport that's not sponsored conference-wide.
Yes.
Or there are only a few schools in my conference that play that particular sport. And I got to go to West Hill in order to get a match or meet, that sort of thing. then if all things being considered equal, if I got to make some cuts, that's going to be a logical first step that I'm going to look at overall. And, granted that, they've won national championships in the past, that sort of thing. It's more of a what have you done for me lately type thing. You hate to say it and put it in that vein, but it is. And when you add the pros and the cons, you got to make, as an AD, you got to make that tough decision.
Right.
And everybody's not going to like it. There's no doubt about that. But, at the end of the day, something's got to give. And that makes sense as opposed to eliminating a sport that everybody in the conference is playing and that you're being competitive in and year out on top of that.
Right.
Yeah.
But we did the exact same thing with.
You're going to catch more flack for that than you would discontinuing. And I don't like to use the word elimination. Athletic director speak, we use discontinued.
Right.
Because discontinued means, Carlos, that, there's a chance at some point in time that it may come back. But elimination is just what it is.
It's gone.
See you when I see you.
Yep. But we did the exact same thing you said, though. We honored the scholarships. And we just brought in all them freshmen. And we told the parents, if your child wants to stay at Alabama A&M, their education's paid for. And a lot of the kids, some of the kids took that option. Others transferred.
Which is good. Right. You would hope that they stay. But 9 times out of 10, the majority of them going to go to a school because they want to continue their sport, that sort of thing. And, but you're putting the option out there for those kids, which is great. Right.
I'm looking in the chat room for those who can look and see. G Boom, who is a PV graduate, said the funding will be going to other women's sports and not football.
Oh, I mean, it depends on who you talk to, Carlos.
I'm just saying. I'm looking from the outside in.
I'm just saying. And the party line should be that it's going to the other women's sports. That's what we should be saying. And that's what we should be emphasizing.
And what we should be doing.
I've heard some other things out there also. As Charles just eloquently said, we're going all in on football. And, to that point, we need to make some changes around here so that we can divert resources accordingly.
Right. But now, do you all feel that this is a sign of the changing time? Will we see more of this?
Yes.
On the HBCU level?
Yes.
With NIL and all them other things.
Not just HBCU level.
Oh, I know. I know. The PWIs were already doing it. They got lawsuits all over the place because they eliminated sports.
Yeah.
But do you see this coming for the HBCUs?
Yeah.
Some are in better shape than others, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this is the rubber meeting the road finally for a lot of our schools. I mean, with this NIL, and you got to find different sources. The pie is only so big, and so if I give Carlos Brown a bigger piece, that means I got to give Wheeler Brown a smaller piece. But the pie is only so big, so I think it's. And again, I don't know Prairie situation. I don't judge other schools. You go to these campuses, you see the beautiful facilities. I mean, this is just an assumption. You see how beautiful these facilities are, and Tankersley Field and Panther Stadium and the Baby Dome and all that, and you're saying, man, they got it going on just as a fan. And then you see this and you're just wondering, and so I just think that's tough. But hey, I think for Tremaine Jackson, and I just saw one of the comments, $150,000 that's going to be redistributed. I mean, how much money, I guess from a dollar standpoint, how many scholarships, you got, I don't know the tennis teams, how many people they had on staff. Does that go away? I mean, all those savings, that's kind of all a part of the funding mix. Is that how it works, Wheeler, in terms of that?
Well, I would say yeah. And Charles, I would also venture to say that 80% of our kids won't see a dime. So we're talking NIL and IL and all this other stuff. I firmly believe 80% of our kids won't see a dime at the end of the day. So we're doing a lot of twisting and turning for 18, 19% to me.
Yeah.
So, it's going to remain to be seen exactly what transpires in the end. But I think we're jumping through a lot of hoops and hurdles for a situation that we are not going to be able to afford, number one, and that an overwhelming majority of our kids would not benefit from, number two. And until somebody comes up with a formula that says otherwise, I just don't see it. I don't see it happening.
So Wheeler, and Coach Pettaway, I'm going to go back to that which will require finances. We always talk about it. The cost of attendance. Remember what last week we were talking about?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I'm gonna try to put myself in a young kid's place. I'd rather have something than nothing at all. So if it's 3,000 or 4,000, what Southern's goal is to give all their student athletes, I think that's the way to go.
Definitely.
But I mean that requires money. I understand finances.
Yeah.
But that would be the way to go, in my opinion.
I agree, and it's feasible.
Yeah,
I think it's something that can happen.
Yeah, because we can't. I say we. You know what I mean? The third eye. You can't compete against $20 million rosters.
Right.
And and you know what? And I don't have any inkling of sorrow if the team across town says they got a $20 million roster. They got all this NIL money. You don't think expectations are high? So, even Steven.
Well, even with this 20
pay
million,
them all. Pay them all.
Even with this $20 million roster, Carlos, you pick up the paper, and the school that's going to offer a $20 million roster is laying off athletic staff. It's raising ticket prices, incorporating a jock fee to their season ticket packages.
Well, not across town, they're not.
Well, I'm just saying,
I understand what you're saying. Yeah,
maybe not LSU, but I'm saying there are some schools that have this $20 million roster, and then you pick up the paper and you see that they're cutting staff, and so that tells me, and I think it's probably more of that going on, but you probably haven't heard or read about it yet. You will eventually. But I think,
and then at the end of the day, you don't make the college football playoffs.
Oh,
right.
And that would be disaster if that doesn't happen.
What have you done?
Yeah.
Your school across town, Carlos, that coach better make the college football playoff. That's kind of the scuttlebutt out there. If Brian Kelly don't make the college football playoff,
he knows that. That's not scuttlebutt. He knows that.
Yeah, and that's gonna be tough. But I think even with these, even Texas with a $40 million football roster. I mean, that's kind of what you read. The schools that are doing it, you just wonder, can they have to do it because they have to keep up with the Joneses and the Smiths of the world. But you just also wonder at what cost. If you're cutting staff, Oklahoma, North Texas, those are the two that I've read. And they may not be having $40 million, $30 or $20 million football rosters, but if they're cutting staff, that tells you something. That tells you that it's a tough hill to climb for some of these schools. They just don't have it like that, and that's fine.
It's out of control.
Fine. Yeah.
Pandora's box and the genie is out. You can't put it back. And I don't want to be brutal about this, but for those schools you're talking about, I could care less. I'd like to have that problem, but we don't have it. Now, back to our schools. Again, our mission is always to make something out of everybody, to put them in a position that they're good. They can go on after sports, Coach Pettaway, and be successful in life. our mission is not like that blueprint. We've got a different blueprint. And I think we should continue to stick with that blueprint, Wheeler. Now, from a financial standpoint, athletics, we know it has changed. You know, we can't really use that 90 and 80 models for now. But we should not sell our soul.
Agreed.
Oh, you don't hear me. You don't hear me. You shouldn't sell your soul just to keep up with the Joneses. Of course we can. But we can do something better.
Well, Carlos, help me out, guys. Panel, help me out here. All right, so we've talked about the cost of attendance. That's been talked about for years. You know, offer cost of attendance, right? Is that a budgeted item? Does that something that athletics has to budget for? Is that something that's coming out of the student athletes maybe? But I'm trying to figure. I've heard it, but how does the cost of attendance? Where does that money come from to pay the cost of attendance?
Wheeler?
It becomes part of the scholarship. So let's say whereas tuition fees, room and board, that sort of thing comes to $20,000 to attend your school per year. And when you factor in cost of attendance, let's say that bill goes up to $26,000. Then you're putting that $6,000 on that particular scholarship. You know, so it's something where your scholarship dollars are going to need to be increased.
No,
but the cost of attendance is based off of different formulas, that sort of thing, where you're from,
right.
You know, your proximity from your home to the school, and, you know, all the things of that nature. All those things factor in to the cost of attendance. So 9 times out of 10, it's going to be a different number for everybody.
It is.
Yeah.
It's individually where you're from, but Willa, that money goes to the athlete now.
Yeah, it does.
Cost of attendance goes to the athlete. Right. Yeah.
But it's tacked on to the tail end of the scholarship.
Correct.
And what Coach Banks, again, you can go. We interviewed him, me and Dr. Cavill, and he kind of got into it. The organization that they're starting, and remember I told you last week, they're gonna they want to put that plan in place, but and if I'm mistaken, I'll come back and say I was wrong. They're going to start with men's and women's basketball first. But the goal is within this organization is to
pay everybody.
Every student athlete, and I believe he used a figure between 3 and 5 or 4 and 5,000 a semester. You know, and so they will get that. To me, that is again the way to go. Now,
I think so.
The NIL and all those, you know, let's just be honest. A lot of the star players, quote unquote star players, are getting paid. In this instance, the second unit will get money. The second unit on the basketball team, because you only can put 5 on the court at a time, but everybody will get something. Yeah. But you still have to raise those finances, those dollars to implement that. So I'm going to invite. He says he's going to come on and he can explain it in more detail of what's going on.
Well, I'm looking at the comments, and I think Dr. Cavill chimed in on whether or not the schools have the resources or not. It is correct in terms of redistributing what you have. You have what you have, and you just have to redistribute it in the ways that matter and make it work. So I think that's kind of where some of our schools are going to be thinking about. I can pretty much guess that a lot of our schools, HBCUs, are having kind of awkward conversations about this NIL space and where do we go and how do we do these things, whether it's cost of attendance or others. I'm sure there's some hand wringling going on with our athletic administrators across the board. I mean, Dr. Cable's comfortable. I interviewed him at Media Day, and the Swarm Fund, the Nest Fund, and Invest the Nest Fund, the Alabama State Fund. He said he saw this coming 2 years ago. And so they kind of have some things in place already. But, other schools, we're trying to get it together with our 1871 collective in athletics, having those conversations between the AD and the director of the 1871 collective, trying to make that work for us. but other schools, I'm sure, trying to do kind of the same thing. We've got two things going. I think Prairie View has one in which you've got all-in-one through their foundation, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was kind of out there. So everybody's doing it differently. There's not one know-all, formula for our schools. I'm just anxious to see how it all works out.
But here's
racking up the pressure to get in the hunt. It turns it up a notch.
Right.
I'm paying kids now, and I'm giving kids this and giving kids that. It puts that pressure on them coaches to get in the hunt. I better get in that conversation. Not just get in that conversation. I need to be an integral part of that conversation, and I need to be going through that door on a regular basis. If I'm putting forth those dollars like that, the expectations rise along with that.
Go ahead, Coach Pettaway. You wanted to say something?
No, I was just going to say that here at Alabama A&M, if you click on our athletic website, the first thing that comes up is gives you an opportunity to give to the NIL initiative.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first thing that's on our website now. So Alabama A&M, they're vigorously trying to get an NIL money for the athletes. All schools, and even in the Power 5, there's no one way or right way to do this thing, because when they put it out there, there were no parameters. There was no blueprint. So this is you learning as you go.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's happening right now with these athletes. In other words, in trying to pay these athletes or put money in these athletes' pockets.
Now, I'll say this, and then we'll go to a break. When I look at Dr. Cable at Alabama State, right? Here's my connection. I think the institutions from an athletic standpoint and overall, with good leadership and steady leadership. I look at Banks. He's been there a while, right? It hasn't been no shifting or moving parts. Dr. Brown's at A&M. Prairie View. Mr. Golf, Dr. Golf is in. Granger at Texas Southern. I think, Charles, it goes back to this. Stability, whether right or wrong, is important. And then the ADs that are at the institutions, a lot of them have basketball backgrounds, Wheeler.
Mm-hmm.
So Wheeler, do you agree? Stability is not the main component, but it is one of those important components that will help navigate through this ever-changing
Definitely. There's no doubt about
landscape.
That. Like I said, it's added pressure now on these coaches to get it over the hump.
Oh, I think it's pressure on the ADs too.
Yeah, it's pressure on them too. Ain't no doubt about it.
We were talking about Prairie View now. I mean, does this, based on what has happened, is the honeymoon period over for Tremaine Jackson? And he's got to beat Texas Southern right out of the gate, and he's got to get it. He's got to put both feet on the ground and go right off the bat.
And Charles, it's just his first year.
That's because he's talked that smack, Charles.
First game, not just first game.
Smack,
wait a minute. I'm trying to take up for Coach Jackson now.
Well, I mean, but no, that's precisely my point. I mean, and Coach Sanders said, "Do you believe?" and all that other stuff, and people kind of jumped on that. And in that spring season, they were 3-0, lost the last 4. You know what happened after that? But
guess what? Jackson State had a good football program before Coach Sanders got there.
And Prairie View had a good football program too. I mean, Bo McDowell won Western Division. Prairie View had a good football program too.
But it wasn't good enough for the powers that be, right?
Yeah.
So back to Will saying it's pressure, but that's the thing that oh boy, I got to be careful. That's the thing. Some from the outside looking in, they think that Jackson State just became a great program when Coach Sanders got there. I disagree with that.
Yeah, I disagree with that also.
But that's just me. The Carlos Brown Show at gmail.com if you disagree, and you're calling me a hater.
Yeah, but I think in that situation, Jackson State went a decade without winning. After after
but
they
they
got
won
rid of.
decades before, though, Charles.
Yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
I get that, but it's like, what have you done lately? And the lately for Jackson State, just like we went 20 years without winning a championship. We went 20 years. We had a drought as well. And so I think it's what have you done lately? I mean, Comergy won back-to-back SWAC championship game appearances. He was let go. I think we all agree that probably shouldn't have happened, but it did. And they went through a drought. We went through a drought. But Prairie View, Bo McDowell took him to a Western Division title. And he was, fortunately, contract was not renewed. And Prairie View is one of the top 5 programs in the Southwestern Athletic Conference. And so the expectation for Tremaine Jackson is year one with everything that's going on and all the hype and all the talk. What is the expectation for PVU? Beating Texas Southern #1, winning the Western Division, being in the hunt for the Western Division. I mean, what has it been ratcheted up here in the last 10 days?
What did Coach Jackson say? Anybody knows what his expectations is?
Seems like it's to win
I'm
it
listening.
all.
Doom. Well,
sounds like it's to win it all.
And here at A&M, the chase is on. The chase is on. We coming. The chase is on. That's Coach Wade. The chase is on.
I got one eye on Alabama and them too. Because
they got one eye on everybody right now, Carlos.
Yeah, they Prairie View looks the part. As far as I'm talking about the overall concept, facilities, athletics, beautiful university. I've never been there, but so many people have told me about how great.
You can say the same thing about Alabama State, Carlos.
Yeah, but not to that. Not to that degree.
Dollar-wise and otherwise.
No, dollar-wise, but not the beauty of the campus now.
I mean,
not in comparison to PV, not in comparison to Alabama A&M now. But yes, money-wise, dollar-wise, they got to go on.
That's what I'm saying. Dollar-wise,
yeah,
they got great facilities, I think, overall.
Yes.
Yeah, so maybe a little weathered and torn, but great facilities.
No, I'm talking about because they're landlocked. I'm speaking about being landlocked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah, the facilities are great. They're just landlocked.
The expectations will be just as high.
Yeah.
Wow, that word is coming up a lot. Expectations. I wonder who's talked about that all the time. I think everybody. Look, in Birmingham, Coach Buckley. Oh, he talked a lot of good toughness and expectations. That word, expectations, but the reality. I think we're all one bad start at the beginning of the season till the fans will be unleashed.
Yeah.
Unleash the cracklings.
Yeah.
And a season is long, Coach Pettaway and Wheeler. Do you overcome adversity when it comes? Because you're going to have a point where some adversity.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And that's what we look at. Yeah. There's that word, expectations. I think everybody has expectations. But see, I was trying to take up for Coach Jackson, although he doesn't need me to take up for him. Because, again, meeting him, he is as advertised. He's very confident that he's going to make noise. I think I read a comment say not year 3, not year 2. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But for me to say, because Southern fans are cocky and arrogant, so
yeah, but you gotta have as a coach, you gotta have confidence though.
Yeah,
you got to. You gotta
have confidence, Coach Pettaway. No doubt about that. I'm just more in the mode of a quiet type confidence.
Speak softly and carry a big
You know
stick.
who you are. You know who you are. You know what you bring to the table. The good ones don't have to beat their chest about it.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Or scream from the top of the Empire State Building. I'm the best thing since sliced bread.
Oh yeah.
The good ones just go on and show up and bring it each and every day. The kids bring it each and every day. Like Coach Graves, I use him as an example. Like the guy at Jackson State now. They just show up. They just show up. They show up. Kids are prepared. They're ready to fight. They're ready to get after it, that sort of thing. And, we just come to play. Let's go.
Well, somebody asked the question about what's the expectation for Alcorn. Of course, our expectation is to win the Western Division, but we got a little work to do to get there. Though we got to get the offense on track. We got to get the quarterback position going, and I think if we do that, the other pieces will fall into place. Our defensive line defensively will be fine. We got to work on special teams, and the schedule is favorable enough where we can get off to a good start and make a statement in the first month of the season. UAPB. Northwestern State, they were winless last year, but they got a young team. They don't know us. We don't know them. We got to start off with that one. We got UAPB, and then, obviously Alabama A&M, Sam Shay's first home game. We're going to know a lot in the first couple of weeks of the season as far as Alcorn is concerned, where we're going to be. We don't see Southern until November, which is kind of, I don't understand the scheduling of it, but we don't see Southern until November. We used to be a mid-season game in which we kind of see where things are. We won't see Southern on our campus until November, and who knows where we'll be at that point. But
And
this is
then
a big
Carlos-
for Thomas in year 2.
Right. Carlos, have you all thought about where is the power? Is it in the East or the West when it comes to football?
Well, it depends on who you ask. If you ask the people in the chat room, they're going to say the East because they're going to say FAMU and Jackson State.
Yeah.
The West is not as powerful, but it's maybe more parity. So that's a good question, I guess, to put out to all those involved. I'm not at liberty to say now which is which. But I will say this. One of the things I like about fall camps, training camp, say, for example, Southern's offense got the better of the defense. Now, the following days after that scrimmage, let's see if will the defense bounce back. And then let's see in this scrimmage, let's see if the defense battles back. And they win the day in the night. You want to see that back and forth, that competition. And then you're getting ready. And then before you know it, it's game week. And then all of that hard work and training, we will see how it plays out. And then what's the old cliche? Game 1 to game 2 is the most improvement. Now, those teams that playing up FBS,
take another week.
Just put an I there. Incomplete. Yeah. It won't tell you nothing.
Yeah.
Now, I think Jackson State has Southern Miss, game 2. And by the way, Jackson State's playing Hampton in Chicago. We talked about that this week doing text messages. Must be Hampton's game. Has to be for them to move it. Let me get another timeout in. We'll come back. It'll be more of the Carlos Brown Show right here on the Black College Sports Network. We shall return. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's see. And we're back.
Well, I think, Carlos, that's a good question. I mean, if you look at the winners of the SWAC, Jackson State from the East won it, Florida A&M, and then Jackson State a couple of times before that when Coach Sanders was there. So right now, I think the Eastern Division is pretty strong right now on that side. And I do agree, parity on the Western side. I think Alcorn, Prairie View, and Southern University right there. But then you got UAPB trying to bring up the rear. You got Texas Southern. You can't forget about them. And then my alma mater, Grambling. I don't know what to say about Mickey Joseph and where my Grambling Tigers are right now. Picked to finish 5th, and I have no clue in terms of where Grambling's going to end up. They could be 5th, 6th, or they can make it uncomfortable for somebody down the stretch.
It's probably more knowns on the east side right now. Yeah, and probably more question marks on the west side, outside of Southern. Yeah, you got question marks with Prairie View. You got a couple question marks probably with Alcorn, that sort of thing. On the east side, you got Jackson State, you got FAMU, you got Alabama State. Yeah, so I mean, you got A&M, coming up and coming, that sort of thing. So yeah, I probably think it's maybe a little tougher on the east side right now, but the west will play itself out, and there's a strong possibility that the West could become tougher as the season progresses. But with the new coaches on the West Side, that sort of thing, you kind of you're still kind of playing with some things over
Right.
there.
Now, Willa, when I threw that out there, my question was, how can Fam be a serious contender? And you talking about a second-year coach, right?
Yeah,
So now, is this the same Fam you that lost to Mississippi Valley?
it is, but
Oh,
this is the same FAMU who hired within.
Mhm.
So the coach there was under my guy. I can't think of his
Willie
name.
Simmons.
Willie Simmons.
Yeah, he was
Really? Yeah.
there. He was there beforehand, so he had a lot of say so in the kids that had been recruited under that old regime. So while he was new, it wasn't like he was coming in brand new.
Gotcha.
To where kids were vacating the program and all that sort of thing. He came in with some knowledge of what was going on. He kind of picked up the ball, so to speak, and kind of ran with it. I don't know that the Valley game was not an anomaly, so to speak, but it was one of those things where on that side of the ledger, all you had to lose was one, and you were kind of like out of it. So I mean, so with that, I kind of give them a little bit more leeway, Coach Pettaway, because he was already there. Same kind of leeway I give Southern, because Coach was part of the previous staff, that sort of thing. So, and the same kind of leeway I give Alcorn, because I think Thomas was part of the previous staff also. So
Mm-hmm.
those guys who are part of the previous staff, even though it's year two, they've been there a lot longer. They had a hand in the kids that they inherited. A lot of those kids they inherited were quote unquote their kids.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, they should be a little further along. They don't get that curve that somebody coming in off the street gets in my
Gotcha.
mind.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Mhm.
And then Carlos, in a future show, will you please address this tier 1, tier 2 with these different schools? Because I'm still upset with where they got Alabama A&M. Okay, that's me now. That's me.
No, Coach Pettaway, they have had so many shows. With that, it's no right answer, but you know what? I've seen
Coach
several
Pettaway, you
shows,
gotta get this tier situation
Yeah,
straight.
yeah.
and I said, man, I don't know if I even want to bring that up because it's again, there's no right or wrong, but it has been a strong reaction to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Opinions. I can easily say, well, hey, who are the blue bloods? Who's
Yeah.
the next tier? I think Willa said tier 1 and the blue bloods should just be
Combined.
as
Throw them
combined.
all in there together.
I'm feeling
Yeah.
out.
See, Willa, when you do that, that's even worse for me then. Because it's going to be even further back.
That leaves you with no blood, huh, Coach Pettaway?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure in Baton Rouge, fan day started at 11, so I was going to invite one of the coaches, but they're busy.
Oh, yeah.
Fan day and then getting out there and in the human jukebox, we'll have to see what they will bring to the table. I love all the bands, the Sonic Boom, the Marching 100. I like Bethune-Cookman's band, Texas Southern Quietly. I still got to get their music and Prairie View on the show, and then I think we'd have everybody covered. Props to Southern Women's Soccer team. They're picked number 1, and they've had some growing pains. But again, it's on paper, but that's nice to see how their peers think enough of them that they're doing great work. I'm going to get the golf coach on. Now we were talking earlier about sports, and when I looked at my iPhone, somebody texted me and said there's going to be a lot of lawsuits coming. And you've already seen some, lawsuits against, Title IX. Because
Okay.
if you look at the women's sports, it's supposed to be reflective of the enrollment, right, Wheeler?
Yes, it is.
And let's just be honest, there are more women student athletes or students than men.
Yep.
So I know it will be nice in a perfect world to take football out of the equation and then have everything else line up. But don't hold your breath. That's not going to happen.
But Carlos, these decisions aren't made in a vacuum.
Right.
So know that, and know that, from an administrative point of view, I have checked with my legal counsel and all that sort of thing prior to making that final decision. So, I would have done the homework in terms of where we are from a Title IX point of view, because that's something that's going to be ballied about, that sort of thing. So, and these schools go ahead and they make these moves anyway, but don't think that they haven't consulted with folk in terms of what the ramifications are going to be, that sort of thing. Everybody knows the lawsuit's coming. They know that prior to them making that announcement that I'm cutting the female sport. They know it's coming. So, you better believe I've done my homework in advance. I've consulted with legal in terms of where we are. I've checked all the prongs and all of that sort of thing to determine whether or not we're still in compliance from a Title IX point of view prior to making that decision.
How long do you think, Wheeler, did this take, though? I mean, do you think this was a six just your best guess? 6 months? You think this was?
Probably. It probably was bandied about for a while, Charles. No doubt about that. It's not something where, last week I was thinking about it. This week I'm gonna put it in motion. No.
Yeah.
This is something that's been on the table, I would say probably about 5 or 6 months.
Right. But they did do both programs though, right?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Which softened the blow.
Right. Right.
Because you can't say that I just cut a female sport, didn't do anything on the men's side, that sort of thing.
Well, it's going to be it's going to be interesting how the court rules.
It's calculated.
And you roll with the decision that happens.
You got to.
It's in the court's hand.
You got to.
Interesting.
You just hope when you roll that dice, you come up 7 or 11 and not snake eyes.
And not crap because of what
and keep it, try to keep it moving from there. You feel bad for the kids, though. You really feel bad for the kids. I mean, they're the ones that are hurt in the long run.
So
a
late
lot
in
of
the
those
process.
kids probably gave up scholarships to
So
come
late
to
in the
that
process.
particular school, that sort of thing. And, or those that are there have developed relationships, with students there, with the teammates and all that sort of thing. And now you're throwing them into a world of change. So it just goes beyond just losing from a sports aspect. You're talking about a whole culture, that sort of thing, that, now a kid is looking at the possibility of transferring to another school they had no inkling or want to move on, and that sort of thing. So you kind of really feel for the kids overall.
Yeah, and I guess the lower court will hear it. I don't know if it'll go to the highest court in the land, because if it goes to that, who knows? I mean,
you won't have a decision for 2 more years, Carlos, and everybody will be older and grayer by that time.
Yeah, well, hopefully everything will work out all right. If you look at the conferences, some schools are in better athletic, in a better athletic place than others. You're blessed at Southern University. They hadn't cut any. They're adding sports, but it's a tough situation. The landscape is always ever changing.
Yeah.
You've got to have solid footing to put that foundation. And that's why I was talking about earlier. You know, if you're changing administrators, you know, every two or 3 years, that's going to make it even tougher. So how important is stability? And I think you answered it, Will.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you're changing presidents every 2 or 3 years, it's the same trickle down. You know, because most presidents want to bring in their own guys or gals, that sort of thing. So, I mean, that's just as bad, if not worse.
And I think in some other institutions in the conference, I think that's kind of put them behind the 8 ball.
Mm-hmm.
You know, with not going through, you know, ADs, presidents, coaches, you know, and I'm sorry. I think about, not that he needs pity from me, and he's not pity, but I think about Coach McNair. That was horrible.
Mm.
Just in my opinion, from the outside looking in. Here's a man that has done a great job. Look, I have to, when I see him, I think I finally got used to seeing him in the blue and gold. He seems happy, but Coach Pettaway, you just think in the back of your mind, this guy should be somewhere leading the program.
Yes, sir.
And I just think it was just, I know things happen, but man, it
was tough, Carlos.
I just hope he can land.
Yeah.
You know, and then Charles, you tell me, some people in the Brave Nation, they were ready to see him go, to move on.
Yeah. Unfortunately, that was the case. I mean, it's this "what have you done lately" mentality. Despite the Celebration Bowls and despite winning the division titles and all that good stuff down the stretch, you know, when we opted out, you know, a lot of people felt like that was kind of the start of the end, the start of the downfall for some people. And I think the decision he made was a good one. But unfortunately, if you look at just what happened in terms of wins and losses, it just didn't pan out. And of course, when you've been used to being in Atlanta, when you won a part of 6, when you won 6 division titles in a row, going in the Eastern Division, you get spoiled. And it was just a complete 360 in terms of where we were, in terms of how it ended. And it was just a number of factors. A lot of folks were kind of turned off by what happened. And it was just one of those things that
I still say nobody.
He didn't deserve it, though.
How he got there, you know, and the fact that, like I said, you know, he was a master at doing more with less.
I would agree with
they
that.
just took those things for granted. You know, we're mighty Alcorn, that sort of thing, and you know, this is where we're supposed to be all the time. You know, not looking at the fact that you had a master magician at the helm. And, you know, I think the messaging probably wasn't enough in terms of getting that aspect of things out there. You know, I think folks needed to know, you know, that Coach McNair was doing a lot more with less. And, you know, I've always said there's come a time when 8-4 is going to look a lot better, you know, or 7-4 is going to look very good.
Yeah.
You know, when you're comparing it to a guy who has always done more with less. So those couple of down years, quote unquote, that he may have had, you know, I think probably should have been swept under the rug. When you look at all the things that he has done historically for that particular program, I think the leash was definitely too short for him, no doubt about that. And whoever was listening to the Boo Birds, I think ultimately they're going to be kicking themselves in the butt, you know, as time progresses. That's just my feeling. Because if the coach is there now, like I said, if he can't find that magic formula that McNair had, you know, and you guys continue to get more of the same, then it's not going to get any better.
Well, the thing about it is that he was offered an opportunity to stay. There was contracts on the table, and there was a decision made that it was, like he said, he's leaping on faith, and he made that decision. So there was an opportunity for him to come back with the contracts that were offered to him, and he just made a personal and professional decision, and I respect it. He called me last week, as a matter of fact. We had a short conversation. I was surprised to hear from him, but
at some point in time, Charles, you got to feel that you got to get what you're worth.
Right.
At some point in time, and you can only take less for so long.
Correct.
And he knows he was performing magic work, that sort of thing. And, you want some increases there for your family and otherwise, that sort of thing. And, I don't know what he was asking for, but, I know with what he had put into the program, he probably was asking for something that was fair. And for the administration not to have met him in that court, so to speak, maybe not give him all, but get him close to where he wanted to be, make me feel that I'm an important part. Just don't push me to the side and feel that you're going to get somebody to do this better than I've done it, that sort of thing. Help me along the way. I ain't saying you got to meet all of my demands, but get me close. Make me feel better about the effort that I'm putting into this program. And I just think, you gotta do that for some people. When you recognize their worth, Coach McNair, I can't pay you what you're worth. This is what I can do. And hopefully I can make him feel better about my sincerity in terms of, me wanting him to be here, love him, gotta have him, the whole 9 yards. And, and we try to keep it moving from there.
Boy, I had nightmares. What if he landed in Huntsville? When the whole process started?
Yep.
Ooh, man.
Yep.
Even Prairie View, even PVU, his name was bantied about in a few places. Obviously, Texas Southern, there was some nibbles there, but a lot of people feel like and still feel like Coach McNair will land as a head coach somewhere.
I think he will.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
and he deserves it.
But guess what? I'm as tickled and happy that he's on the Bluff, and he looks good, and he looks like he's enjoying all the good food, and he, meeting him, he's still the same. He's not a raw type of guy, turning flips and all that. He just has that smile. And when I was talking to him after their meeting, that's him.
And Carlos, he's with somebody that values him, and that makes you feel good. There's no doubt about that. He's with somebody that knows what he brings to the table, that leans on him heavily, that sort of thing. From a coaching point of view, that's what you want. Somebody to love you, show you the love, that sort of thing and stuff. And Coach Graves knows what he brings to the table. He's not threatened by somebody that has more head coaching experience than him, that sort of thing. That's what I like about Coach Graves.
I like a staff that is very knowledgeable and I can bounce things off, and I don't want a staff that's like yes men and yes women.
Right.
Agree with everything I said. But no, Coach Brown, I think you're wrong on this one. Let's try this. We got 5 minutes left. Let's get ready to wrap it up. Southern University, open to the public, 7 p.m. tonight. Scrimmage number 2. Fan Day was today. We meet the cross-country, soccer, women's volleyball team, the human jukebox. Congratulations to Southern University women's soccer team. Predicted number 1. We'll be able to compare and contrast at the end of the season. Coach Pettaway?
Yep. Well, I'm looking forward to another week of A&M football. I'll get a chance to get up and see them again this week. See what Coach Shades and the staff have in store. And then at the same time, I do believe this is the weekend that our students will be coming back on campus. So I think things are kicking off, and I'm looking forward to it.
Willer?
All these individual battles start to wind down now, Carlos. It's that time of the year. And, as Coach Pettaway was saying, it's time for school to start and all the little nuances that go with that. So we wish all of our student athletes a prosperous new school year. And let's get it on.
Yeah.
Charles?
Go Braves.
Oh, that's it. To the point.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
Go Braves.
My closing comment is going to be a little bit off of sports. Well, a lot off of sports. Everybody from elementary, middle, and high school going back to a new year. And in East Baton Rouge Parish, we started already. So our hearts and prayers are with the educators because you know what? It starts early.
Yep, absolutely.
From pre-K to 12th grade. So hope everyone have a great year. And also, I will say this, there's a fan fest that's going on today. And also, be involved in your community. In other words, we're affected more so by local politics and just the community. We've got to embrace each other and show more love. What the world needs now is more love, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
On that note, we appreciate our producer, Melody. Also, everyone in the chat room, let the conversation continue. I'm getting ready. I'm going to enjoy the rest of my Saturday evening. I'm going to have a bite to eat. Then I'm going with my entourage, and we will be at Mumford at about 6:45.
I'll be on top of the press box, Carlos.
Oh, yeah. We'll be watching. Everybody be looking.
Yeah.
Until next Saturday at 11 a.m., as always, peace and God bless. And don't forget to hit the thumbs up button. We'll see you.